welcome to Coaching with Tally. We are recapping our series today, all about increasing peace in your life. And so it's super important when you learn something to be able to go back and retrieve that information. There's something that happens at a neurobiological level when you go back and you retrieve, you review, you repeat. There's something that integrates much more deeply into life. And so we're going to be doing that over the next few days. We're going to be going back over kind of an overview of the peace series that we've been in so that you can integrate all of these ways of increasing peace in your life more fully into life, into your rhythms, into just the way that you think about and interact with life so that you can increase peace. So my name is Tally. I'm a life and personal development coach. I work with leaders to create lives of overflowing joy, overflowing impact in the world, getting you to a place where you have created a life that you love living, that is centered in joy and gets you in overflow. Really all about working with those of you who really want to have a profound positive impact in the world, that want to make a difference in the lives of other people, getting you first into a place of alignment, firing on all cylinders. We look at every important area of life and just get you to create a life that is in alignment with that so that you can be in overflow and make a difference in the world. So we are in a series. I've been doing several different series for you guys around the topics that you're telling me that you're interested in, that you could use support with, that you'd like coaching around, and been coming live every day. The last 2+ weeks, I would say, we have been doing a series all about increasing peace in your life, because all of us could use just more peace right now. With everything going on, it's regularly combating living out of this place of peace. And so we've been doing specific tools and tips and things that you can integrate into your life in very practical ways that will increase peace for you. And you guys have been taking on the challenges. You've been doing it. It's been really, really fun to see. And so one of the things I think is really important to do is go back and just kind of overview. I think that's part of teaching effectively, is tell people what you're going to talk about and why, go through the specific things that you want to teach, and then come back and overview what it is that you've learned. I know for me, I integrate so much more powerfully, and there are a number of reasons for this. One is neurobiologically, that is part of the way our brain works. So we learn new information, we get something, we store it in a place in our brain, and then where it really becomes powerful is when you go and you retrieve that information, you bring it back up. That's why teaching really helps. Like when you have to retrieve that information in order to teach someone else, it locks it in and it builds confidence. Repetition is really significant because you're going back and you're retrieving that information, you're bringing it back up again. And the more times that you do that, the more powerfully it integrates into your life, the more powerfully it becomes a part of you. The more times you do it, it develops rhythms in your life that can become habits. So I think it's important to bring it back up, for you to go back and go, oh yeah, I remember the day that I took that challenge on and I did it, and that really was helpful. And it'll cause your brain to steer into it more, to look for opportunities to create more of that works. So it was really cool. I just got a message from one of you guys just a little bit ago on the first thing we're going to go over, and that is the first one that we talked about in the series was slowing down. So consciously bringing awareness to the pace that we're going at. And often we just get going really, really fast because we're feeling this sense of being in a rush, or it's like a scarcity of time. Like there's not enough time to do all of the things that we need to do, and so we find ourselves rushing even when there's not something specific. I talked about how I was aware one day that I was like really rushing and stressing and putting on makeup, and I was like, why am I even rushing? I don't have a specific time that I need to be ready for anything. Like, why? I'm just rushing because it becomes part of our habit and culture that we live in to just be as efficient as possible and get as much done as possible. And I love hustling, I love working hard, all of that, but sometimes it becomes really counterproductive when we're just going at this pace. So we talked about bringing awareness to slowing down. And somebody, like one of you guys, just texted me or messaged me on Facebook Messenger and just said, I was aware that I was folding laundry and in a rush, and I just brought awareness to it and slowed down. It just brings more peace. So I love that. I love that. Those little things. And then the other thing that he said was, and not making myself wrong about it, not feeling dumb that I was rushing, not like beating myself up for not being where I want to be with things. So that is huge. I love hearing those stories. I love it when you guys message me and tell me how these things are applying, how these things are integrating into your life, the difference that it's making. All of that keeps me going and is why I'm doing what I'm doing. So thank you to those of you guys who reach out and give me feedback. I love it. Super, super awesome. So just slowing down, super important to just slow down, to notice the pace at which we do things. And sometimes when you catch yourself, when you bring awareness to the sense of rushing, you bring awareness to that scarcity of time that we can tend to operate in, and just taking a deep breath and just going a little bit slower, walking to your car a little bit slower, folding your laundry just a little bit slower, cooking, whatever it is that you're doing, just bringing awareness, a consciousness to it, and just intentionally slowing down, even if it's just for a couple of minutes, to let peace come into the space, let peace come into your mind, your heart, your body, your spirit, and operate from that place. And it doesn't mean you can't rush. Sometimes it's actually fun too, but when we're in that constantly, it really affects all of our systems, our physical systems, our mental, all of that. The second thing we talked about was unplugging. So we are in such a digitally, technologically charged culture these days that it's really hard for most of us often to go without our phone, to go without our computer, to go without checking our whatever the things are that are important to us, our email, our social media, whatever it is, our messages, and the power of unplugging even for short amounts of time where we can disconnect from the technology. And I talked about one of my clients that week who made the decision because he just was acknowledging the level of stress it was bringing into his life to be constantly connected to so much negativity, especially with the news for him and in social media, just constant barrage. And he was recognizing the effect of that on him. And he set a boundary for himself to disconnect after 10 p.m. and not reconnect again until after 9 a.m. So just having space every day within this 24 hours that he unplugs from all of the media and the negativity, and replacing it was the other thing we talked about that day. How significant it is to set the boundary on things that are coming in that aren't supporting where we want to be, but to replace it with something else that does do that. And so for him, he replaced it with reading and decided he was going to, if he spent an hour on social media, he was going to do 2 hours for every hour of social media or being on the news, whatever, with reading, because that's something that fills him up, that steers him into where he does want to go. So however that looks, whatever that looks like for you, what are things that you can do to set some boundaries around just the things that we're constantly plugged into, recognizing the negative effect that can have when it's constant. I mean, all of them are wonderful things. They serve us in many, many ways. But when it's consistent, constant input, it really can hurt us. And so replacing that with things that fill us up, that give us energy. Maybe it's a walk without your phone every morning. Or maybe it's, I'm going to put the phone away or the computer, whatever, technology away for half a day on Saturday and just be with family or friends or yourself or God or whatever it is that fills you up. Making time in your schedule to replace the things that are draining with things that fill. So that's unplugging. And we did that on a weekend, so that was kind of cool. The third thing was coming into acceptance. So the recognition that whatever it is that we resist persists, finding those places where you sense resistance in yourself. Maybe it's something like a conflict that you have going on in a relationship. Maybe it's just a situation that you're in that you don't like, that you want to get out of, but there's a regular, consistent focus on something negative in your life that you are like resisting against, and noticing how much that drains your energy, how much that drains your ability to be present, to enjoy, to be grateful, and beginning to shift. Sometimes there are things, one of the things we talked about that week was just looking at those situations, identifying them, and then looking at what is it that I can control about this situation and what is it that I can't control, and doing something about what you can do something about, and really getting into this very sweet place of acceptance around the things that there's not anything I can do about this situation right now. or I'm doing the things that I can do and there's still frustration that it's not the way that I want it to be. And just going, okay, this is actually just the reality right now. This is the situation that I'm in, and coming into a place where you come to some peace with it. Not that you want to stay stuck in that place, not that you want it to be that way forever, but coming into acceptance is a first step in being able to move through it and forward in it, and certainly helps with bringing more peace. That's weird. So we're not going to be using that anymore. I just touched my little thing that I keep my notes on, and the whole screen flipped upside down and turned on my Instagram. So I have no idea what happened there. Luckily, we have a backup. So the next thing is experimenting with tools that bring relaxation for you. So finding ways to integrate into your life tools. Like, one of the things for me that I am always working with my private clients or group coaching clients around is increasing this tool belt, so to speak. Like, I almost imagine having a tool belt on of emotional tools, psychological tools, things that you can go to when you find yourself in different situations. Like, oh, let's pull out the tool of gratitude because I've developed this and I know how to use it. Or the tool of acceptance, or just these different emotional intelligence tools that you have access to. And some of them are going to be just things that you know that you can do that instantly connect you to peace, that consistently move you into a place of like, ah. So some of those could be just getting yourself out into nature. Some of those could be sitting down in your journal and just writing for a minute all the things that you're grateful for. One of those could be acknowledging and encouraging someone else. Sometimes focusing out on other people is a great way to feel better internally. So looking at what are the quick things that you can turn to immediately and access quickly that will steer you into a place of peace. So that's one of the things we talked about. And I think we're going to wrap it there, and I will do some more of the tools tomorrow. But I really want to go back through and just touch in again on some of these places that we visited. One, if you've missed some, you'll have a chance to reconnect into that, and maybe you'll be like, oh, I want to go back and watch the full session on that, full conversation that we had on that. You can go back and do that. Or it's just a way to reintegrate it deeper, take it a little bit deeper when you retrieve that in your mind and you come back to it and go, oh yeah, that was so good. I want to do that more. It steers your reticular activating system into that place of knowing what is important to you, and retrieving that information really does support you. So I would love to hear more stories about how you guys are integrating these things into life and the effects that it's having on you. Thanks so much for those of you who have reached out. Sending huge blessings and so much love to you today. We'll see you again tomorrow. You're so welcome. See you again tomorrow. Blessings.